Hey everyone, it's Robin, R Silent Crafts, and welcome to my studio. This is my Whip It Wednesday video, where I'm going to show you the crafty goodness that I've been working on this week. Thank you so much to everyone who joined me for the live stream, or live streams, and for everyone that caught the replay. There was a couple of glitches in the beginning, and I apologize if the videos like this with black on the side. It was a YouTube thing. I tried 3-4 different times, and I just could not get the video to come up unless it was in the vertical position for my phone versus horizontal. It's something that happens every now and then with YouTube. It can't be helped. But we worked on our Where Does Everyone Live map. This is the embroidery map from Missouri Star, the U.S. travel map. I have the link down below to my affiliate link for Missouri Star, so if you follow through that link and you spend $50 or more on qualifying items, they always like us to say, then you'll receive a 20% discount. And we have to say things like qualifying items. Some things may be exempt because they're not going to give you the 20% discount on a big item like Jenny's Christmas box, a sewing machine, or some items that have already been discounted so much and on sale or clearance that they're not going to let you double down on it. But there's still a lot of items to choose from. I, who don't feel like I need a lot of things that much because I have enough already, when I go and I do a little shop in there, I'm always surprised at how many things I would either put into my wish list or actually purchase. Which means I do have a box of Missouri items that I've purchased coming soon and the monthly affiliate box. So that's going to be fun to do another unboxing of those. But what we did during the live is, well, I learned again that mistakes happen and it's not that big of a deal. It can be fixed. We caught them early enough to where it didn't ruin anything, which the mistakes was simple. When you're doing the states because of the shape and you're using the heat and bond, you need to reverse the image and do it from the back versus the front. Anyway, it worked out fine and it's okay. You can go ahead and watch the live stream if you want to just have a little bit of entertainment. So the ones that already have the fabric fused down, those are the states of people that have let me know that you live in one of these states. I have a little printout that I found from a homeschool site. Right now it's looking that Ohio is in the lead. There are 4 people that live in Ohio and everyone else has 3, 2, or 1. Once we get all of the states in, or enough of the states in, I'm going to proceed to the next several steps, and part of it is going to be deciding if I want to put a French knot or sew a little bead, maybe a clear bead or a bead that matches the color of the fabric. Clear beads would probably be the easiest. For every person that lives in that state, we will add a bead to it. So then we could see just by glancing at it, and it'll also make it a little bit of a textile thing. Eventually it'll be turned into a quilted wall hanging. The canvas did get a little bit warpy. I don't know if you guys can see all these little wrinkles. As I was using my iron and heating it, there was probably a bit of a higher temperature for the canvas than it could normally tolerate. But once I take the iron and I press it again, all those wrinkles press out and I'll go ahead and quilt it and it'll be fine. Maybe next time I'll use a different iron because the one I used was the little palm one that, you just kind of hold like this. And I don't know if that temperature is adjustable. It has a dial on it, but that doesn't necessarily mean the temperature will actually go low enough to make a difference. High enough for the heat and bond to stick, low enough for it not to warp the canvas. But as long armors like to say, we can quilt that out. It'll be fine. It can get stretched. It can get quilted. I could put some type of a fusible on the back to make sure it stays that way. But eventually it'll turn into something that I can hang on the wall for you guys to see. Now I did go ahead and fuse all of the states down. I haven't cut them out because I'll save that. I enjoy cutting out the little shapes from the fusible. And I'll do that each time I go to add a state. So if you tell me you live in a state that's already here, I'll put a tick mark on my little tally sheet. And if you live somewhere that's not here, say Alabama, Georgia, or the Carolinas, I'll fish out in my little bag here, your state, trim it down and adhere it, and you'll see it in the next Whip It Wednesday. I think this will eventually go above the doors because you can usually see that when I'm doing a Whip It Wednesday video. That's not pointing down like this. I just thought today it'd be easier. for my brain and for you guys to see what's going on while I ramble. Although I have not done Alaska and Hawaii yet, they are not in my little package. I didn't even think about it until afterwards because I was following the states as I was doing them on a light box, going down like this and just working like this. So when I got over to here and all these tiny states, I'd had enough and I was done. So Alaska and Hawaii, I'll make those in a little bit, or I'll make them when one of you tell me you live there. I'll probably still pin this up with some sewing pins, some of my older ones, maybe bent ones or whatever. In the past, I've used just a pin to hang up like a mini quilt or something, so I will probably stretch it out, iron out the wrinkles or something, and then pin this up above the door, and then I can just bring it down whenever I need to add some new state to it. Now, Missouri Star also did this map with embroidery, and actually on this one right here that I'm looking at, it looks like it might be a combination of embroidery stitches and fabric. You can mix and match however you want. They were using it for an example of if you went from, like we went from Florida to Arizona, we went on a road trip or something, you can go ahead and put in all the states that you traveled through to here, and then maybe you went up to Wisconsin to see the Great Lakes. You went down over to New York because, you know, it's the Big Apple. There must be an apple there somewhere. Actually, New York State does have some really good apples. So if you're there in apple picking season, which is usually in the fall, it would be a great place to visit. There's a big difference between New York City and upstate New York. One's country, one's city. There are cities in the country, of course. But is there country in the city? Probably, at least some country people. But that was their intention. There is also a Zentangle map that is not available, but maybe if enough people put their email in saying they're interested in it, that they'll have a reprint. And that has all the embroidery stitches already printed on the map, so it makes it much easier. You don't really have to think about anything, you just fill it in. That's one of the fun parts about embroidery is when it's already pre-printed and you just follow the designs. I had a lot of fun working on this map with you guys over the weekend. When I was looking for a map to show the states so I can put all of their little initials onto the state, I did it with a friction pen so they do go away with heat, which is nice, and I did make several disappear and have to rewrite them. But if you go on Etsy, you can find printable maps, and it was a PDF download, but it was like, where have I shipped orders to from my Etsy shop? So I thought that was really interesting too. I've thought about that a couple times because I have shipped to a lot of the states and other countries, and that might be fun too to also have that, but I don't think it needs to be anything really in-depth. It'd be fun to have it maybe on the computer to color in, or just a sheet of paper that I can reference in somewhere, like maybe hanging up on the wall or something just to reference. But I don't think it needs to be a full on like this. I think this was really fun to know where all of you guys live, because I see you guys in a way every week. So even if you're watching this video 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years from now, I'd still love to know where you live, and we can go ahead and add you to the map. This weekend, my patrons and I worked on a Halloween wall hanging. This one is spooky. And what it is, it's 100 2.5-inch Halloween themed squares that I put together. There are no duplicates, so it was really fun to go ahead and put this together. Now sometimes it's Halloween themed because here is a Halloween striped. It doesn't like scream Halloween, but when you look at it, you're like, okay, that's Halloween. Halloween polka dots. This was from an actual Halloween fabric, but it has the stars and stuff. So not everything, a gray square, a black square, an orange square, it's not from Halloween fabric specifically, but it is part of the Halloween theme and stuff like that, so it works. There's a lot of fun little creatures and stuff on here. We have the witch's hat, and this is a mummy donut. This guy here, the monster, is my favorite. I have to have a little Snoopy, some cats. There's lots of bats and candy corn. It was just a really fun project to work on. We even have some spooky crabs. Well, spooky only because they look like their legs are like knives. They're pretty happy looking, but that is from a Halloween fabric. I just cut a little bit of it out. I appliqued the word spooky on, and if you can see, I did it in a weird way because Halloween is not all perfect. It's a little wonky and stuff. Another perfect holiday for me. I do love Halloween and autumn. It's one of the things my husband and Rob and I used to love to decorate and watch the movies and the trick-or-treaters. We didn't really have trick-or-treaters in our neighborhood because there was never any kids, and we weren't in a rich section of town. We were just in a normal area, and there wasn't enough houses, a lot of empty fields, so the kids always went somewhere else. Totally understandable because when our kids were little, we took them somewhere else. The spooky and the binding is the same fabric. It is a green and orange grunge with this kind of greenish gray polka dots on it. And there is the binding. I learned a new trick for the binding that I'll show you in an upcoming video sometime in the next few weeks, give or take a few weeks. Next time I make a quilt like this, I'll just go ahead and record a video of a little new tips and trick that I learned for getting your binding to lay nice and flat and look perfect, or as perfect as it needs to be, because there's never really anything. Sometimes when I do it, everything just works out amazingly well, and other times it's just like, hey, that's gonna work, but it's off just a little bit here. So that worked out really well. And on the back, I used a black fabric with a very small white micro print for the polka dots. It could be gray. It's one of those things that white and gray look about the same. You can kind of see my quilting now. It outlined the spooky 2 or 3 times, and I just did free motion meander everywhere. I tried using the new Bro thread, glow in the dark. It's an embroidery thread. So it might be that's where the problem is I only have it single and just like free motion going around the letters. I think it would glow better than it does. I don't even have a video right now for it to glow. If I come up with something before I post this video, I'll add it in. But I left it outside for 5 minutes in the sun. It didn't work. I'll try again for a longer amount of time later today. But I have a feeling that it needs to be more on the embroidery machine, so you have that condensed stitching, more of a zigzag type stitching, satin stitch, and that's where you'll pile the thread on top of each other and get more of that glow in the dark look. Either way, it has a nice light green thread here, and I used a lighter purple to do the free motion quilting. The quilt is great. I love the way it looks. If it glows one day, great. If it doesn't, then, you know, it's still a great quilt. I don't think I will market it in my Etsy shop as glow in the dark, though. It might be a happy surprise for someone. I do still have the glow in the dark fabric from Missouri Star that we're going to try out, and I have a feeling that that's going to give us more of that glow in the dark bang that I'm not getting from here. So this should be in the shop either today when you see this video on Wednesday, or usually by Friday. It measures about 20.5 inches square, which I think that is a nice little table topper to put on a footstool to hang on the wall. I did not turn this one into a pillow because I thought it would just be more fun as a wall hanging. I realized recently that I do not have any more Selvage fabric postcards, so I went ahead and I worked on that a little bit over the weekend. They are just a flimsy, they haven't been quilted or anything, they're just on their interfacing. So I have this one. I didn't do too much in particular for some of these. I just went, okay, that's gonna look good together. A lot of them is just the fabric. They don't actually have the words on the selvage, which was a little bit sad, but it does have the fabric on it, so that still works. And it's a fabric postcard. I probably wouldn't use those for a quilt, but for a fabric postcard, they work out pretty well. I always think it should go one way or the other, but I didn't pay attention. This one is upside down, just because if I'd have turned it the other way, I wouldn't have the way the selvages all go in one direction. I try to do that. Sometimes I do from the center out, and it just becomes annoying. Like this one here. So it has a fun horse that kind of reminded me of like childhood and Toy Story and stuff. So I went with that theme. This is Buzz and Woody Stars from Disney, so I thought that would be fun to put on there. And then here's some like cartoony type fabric there. This one felt like all pinks, so I went with that theme and just added a bunch of pink selvages and fabric onto it. And this one was the pinks and greens. I started with this fabric because it was such a nice big chunk, and then I just added other fabric. This doesn't have any selvages and neither does the white. I brought the white in just to give it a little bit separation and to make sure I had enough to do the entire card. So this week, next week, the week after, sometime at some point, I'll go ahead and get these quilted to their batting and turned into fabric postcards to go into the stash. So your scrappy word for today is holiday. What's your favorite holiday? Do you just kind of decorate a little bit all year round, or is there one holiday that you really kind of go a little bit overboard? I know for most people that's Christmas. A lot of people do love Halloween. I feel some of the other holidays, Easter, while it's a big holiday occasion, I feel like it's not a big decoration. It's more about certain aspects depending on what you celebrate, and then the Easter egg hunts and the food and family. And then we have 4th of July, and that's really about the food and the celebration. I know there's always meanings to the holidays, but the majority of people celebrate them a little bit differently. We all have our own thing, and we all celebrate whatever happens to be our favorite. I said we love Halloween and Christmas, so those are the two that we go crazy for. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!